What we're going to talk about today is sprint freestyle. Okay, and not necessarily like actual sprint free, like what to do, how to do, but just like the track record of where sprinting is today, where it came from, who we need to revere, whose respect we need to give, in kind of an irritated fashion, because to me, this coach has not gotten the respect they deserve, and it's more than deserve. And then I guess the final degree would be what we as Rakeley try to provide to you guys, right? So let's jump into it, right? So the first 2 points are kind of be wrapped together, and this goes out. This is a major shout out and tribute to Coach David Marsh, right? So we're gonna have some story time and mixed into this. So the first story goes when I swam at UT, right? So when I was there, Auburn and Cal were winning all of the sprint relays and all the 50 freestyles. Like they were always 2 up, right? You'd have Cal 2 swimmers up, Auburn 2 swimmers up, and then you had your other, or 3, one of them with 3 maybe. And then, you know, you had one of them 1 down, 2 down. So if there's 16 spots, instantly 7 of those spots are gone to 2 teams, right? And like you got to realize like how many like that is not common. I'm not gonna say it's uncommon, but in the 50 free, it's very uncommon, right? Very uncommon for you to have, in the 100 free, I guess, to a degree. Just like in the 2 free, like seeing 2 UT swimmers in the 2 free is common. Seeing 2 200 freestylers from another school is uncommon. Okay, in that A final. And I just remember like we'd always go into the meet, and our first day they would kick our ass, right? Auburn and Cal, specifically Cal, because you know they're the team we're trying to beat, or they're our major rival at the time. And we'd be down like 50 points after the end of day 1, right? Every year, and then we'd have to make a comeback the next 2 days, and we always fell short. Well, not always, but you get what I'm saying. And I remember thinking, like, if we knew what Cal and Auburn knew, and I'm like 20, early 20s, right? 20, 21, 22. I'm like, if we knew what they knew, we would be unstoppable because we wouldn't be down 50 points to end every day. And because we knew sprinting, right, our sprint free relay is better. Our short medleys are better. Even our long medley is better. And definitely our 400 free relay, which, you know, we can kind of get away with having that with good 200 freestyle swimmers, right? But I just remember thinking that like we're so much better at all the other events, or at least even keel at all the other events, that like the only thing where it's like a clear cut like we suck at this compared to these schools is with the 50 freestyle, like clear cut. And I didn't know at the time like where these philosophies were coming from, right? Like that they were so actually the same philosophy. So I'm thinking that, right? And I leave and I go swim under David Marsh. Side note, when I was recruited, it came down to Auburn and Texas for me, right? I guess you're not right, but it came down to Auburn and Texas. I didn't know Cal was as good as they were, so I completely blew them off before my recruiting even started. I grew up a hooper, just so the people who are new can know that. So I didn't know anything about swimming. And I knew that the Auburn people had the technique stuff I needed, right? Because I knew Auburn was good. I'd done enough research to know who was winning. I didn't know who the coach was when they were doing all this stuff, but I knew that they had Auburn sprint was a thing. Obviously ended up at UT, and like I said, I recognized that if we knew 50 freestyle technique, we would be unstoppable. And at the U.S. Open in 2013, after I graduate, Eddie, there is no crossover between the athletes going to train with the other athletes, right? It's me and Eric Chanteau. That's it. And Eddie gave me his blessing. He was like, hey, I want you to talk to this coach, right? And I didn't know it's David. He's like, so you go up there and he introduced, obviously it's David. And at this point, I'm now a swimmer. I'm not a hooper. So I know who David is, right? The architect of Auburn's dominant, 611 points at NCAA championships. Insane. And he's talking to me about my freestyle. And he's like, yeah, you're like doing this wrong. He's like, you're swimming disjointed, like your hips and shoulders. And these are all things, just not even pulling, but just like your body positioning. And I'm like, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been waiting for. So like at the meet, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here, right? Shout out to Austin Surhoff. I was living with him at the time, and we had lived together for like a few months, and then I was like gone. I kind of put him in a position where he had to live with a stranger, so my bad dog. But so I leave and I go to North Carolina, and David's like, tells me I don't know how to swim, all that stuff I've said before, and a lot of the concepts that he told me when I moved back to Texas and I started coaching after I retired due to my ulcerative colitis complications, I taught them to kids the way that David taught them to me. So it's like, this is the feature, like this is how we're going to do it, this is what it feels like, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized, I got moved to a different group. We're not going to talk about all that because that's a whole mess of my beginning of my coaching career, like disorganized. But I realized, like, man, I don't want to teach this. Like, I have to, like, it took me all year to figure out, like, how to communicate that. Like, I don't want to do this again all year where I got to, like, be creative and, like, connect to the kid and make sure they understand what's going on. So that was, like, kind of the beginning of Rakely, where I started developing, like, an actual system to where maybe I'm only teaching them, like, one thing in a year. And then the next year they learn one thing. And then at the end, they're only learning, like, one thing. Right? Because they've mastered everything else through the years. Sorry, guys. If you're new here, for whatever reason, when I get in front of a camera, my nose, God, I look crazy. Itches like crazy. I don't know why. I never bother touch my nose like this at all unless I'm in front of a camera. I'm talking to you guys, so I'm sorry. But, through the years, so I started taking a lot of this stuff, the concepts that David taught me, and I basically made drills for everything, right? So let me see if I have it here. I think I might have deleted it. Yeah, I did. So I would say, in a nutshell, the major concepts that I learned from David about sprint freestyle and end up making drills for. It's kind of funny because I like try to explain some concepts as an athlete, and then I'd make a drill for it, and then the drill would be the exact same thing that David would have me do, but it was like a different equipment, but like the overall thing was the same, but I was teaching it like the actual way that it should be done versus David was like, this is what it should look like, go. Right? And that was kind of it. But anyway, whatever. So the anchor, the catch, the connect the hips, the connection to the shoulders, the attack position, right? Inside out swimming is a big part of it, but I didn't, I kind of, having done it, to me, it seems to be more of like 100 free skill. The inside out, 100 free and up. But, right, so I finally have my answer, right? The other side of this coaching knowledge, information, right? And then I, come on, with Eddie, I know everything pretty much now. With what I learned from Eddie and swimming amongst these Olympians, and a big part of sprint freestyle is recruiting power into your stroke. So I'm now taking what I learned from David about the all-important ability thing of being able to produce power for sprint free, and I apply it to all the strokes, right? When it's appropriate, based on age and motor skills, whatever. And I remember, like, as I'm putting this together, I'm like, well, I know how, Eddie's one person. It's very easy to follow his track record of success and understand why he's who he is, right? David didn't coach as long, or at the collegiate level, as long as Eddie. So it's like, okay, well, you can start putting the clues together. Cal's always going 2 up. Auburn's also going 2 up. I know that Brett Hawk swam under David Marsh, so that continuation makes sense. And then I know about the race club, right? So this is my senior year. I'm doing my own research, and I discovered the race club and Club Wolverine content. So I'm kind of putting all this stuff together. I find out about Mike Bottom and how he was at Cal before Dave Durden was, and I later find out that before Cal, he was at Auburn as their sprint coach under David Marsh. And then I learned that Dave Durden was the swim coach after Mike Bottom left. He became a sprint coach at Auburn, and then went to Maryland, and then from there went to Cal once Mike Bottom left, and Maryland's program got cut. Their swim team program got cut. So I start putting it here, and it's like, okay, so the coaches whose athletes are going 2 up in the 50 freestyle all hail from, except for Mike Bottom in Michigan, but Mike Bottom obviously he's teaching the same concepts, right? When I discovered the Club Wolverine page, his stuff is the same concepts as what David had taught me and what I've seen executed by their athletes, and then what I've seen executed by Dave Durden and Brett Hawk's athletes. So it's like, okay, these guys are all teaching the same thing with variations, right? Based on how they understand it and what they think you should do to make it better or whatever, right? So I think a big part why David doesn't get the respect he deserves is because, one, he works with pro athletes, right? And two, he didn't do it long enough. Let me say this, because he did do it long enough. A lot of his success has come from his disciples, right? Now, obviously, he's had a hand in, his own personal hand in things. But when you go back and you look at, like, what his philosophy has created, you realize that this guy is pretty much the god, especially in the U.S. If Dave Durden or Dave Marsh does not build the apparatus for these coaches to come and learn under him, U.S. sprinting probably doesn't exist. American sprinting does not exist. Any medal that has been won by Team USA in the 50 freestyle, we're talking about the men's, right? I coach all my girls men's technique because it's faster. Boys are faster than girls. I want my girls to be faster than the girls, so they gonna learn the dude stuff. But it's all David Marsh. Okay, so we're gonna look at this graphic. Right, so the drills that I teach, you don't see at the top. Right, so David had, like I said, there was things he taught me, but there wasn't a drill to do it, right? I kind of had to figure it out on my own. And then, like I said, when I started coaching, I wasn't willing to teach a kid the way David taught me, because these are, like, it's different when you have, like, world-class athletes and you're teaching them. It's always new, they're getting it, it's engaging, you're getting the results. But when you're teaching kids, one, they're a lot harder to teach, right? They just don't have the worldly experience to make the reference points that you can make as an athlete or as an adult. Fire department's outside. And like when I finally got it done, it's like I have a new wave of kids coming in. And it's like, I can't do this every year and spend more time teaching than coaching, right? Or coaching than training, whatever, however you want to look at it, right? So it's like, okay, I need a system. So the drills, I took the concepts and made them into drills, right? Now, the major ones would be the anchor the catch, sprint freestyle, or sprint freestyle anchor the catch, which is the bouncing, the shoulder connection, the hip connection. Those three are pretty much all you need. Right now, I took it a step further and got way more detailed, and that's where the attack position. David definitely taught me the open recovery. I call it open finish. But when you combine, it's kind of like the way more detailed, like slow-mo, frame-by-frame approach to the things that anchor the catch, shoulder connection, and connect your hips all imply and teach you how to create more power, but the attack position and the open recovery add that extra, squeeze the last little bit of juice out of this stroke. And if you make errors with the first three, right, anchor the catch, shoulder connection, hip connection, any errors you have, the attack position and the open recovery will solve those errors if you didn't naturally figure them out on your own, right? So, like, everything that these guys teach, we got it. We got drills for it. And like I said, I think David needs to have his flowers. right? And a lot of times we don't give people their flowers till they're gone. Like, this is the effectiveness of what David created, right? Since 2000 to 2021. All right, I guess the 2024 Olympics happened too. I need to go. That's my bad, guys. I need to go add that. No, we can probably, I'll do it right now. 2024 Olympics, 50-meter free. Okay, so 2024, the champion was... Oh, we don't have any. So 2024 would have been the end of this run, unless there's something in here I don't know, right? But Ben Proud won. Cam McEvoy was tied for first, and then a bunch of people who didn't, who haven't trained under these people, right? Dressel, Crooks. Now maybe they have a coach who is a part of this coaching tree. I don't know. But off rip, it looks like their influence ended in 2024. Right now, obviously, now we have Jack Alexey who continues this influence, so it's not discontinued. But in 2024, at the Olympic level, it wasn't present, to my knowledge. Right, and based off of the same measurement standards I'm using over here, it wasn't there in the Olympics. Right. So anyway, we can see. Right, we know Mike Bottom, Brett Hawk, and Dave Durden are all descendants from David Marsh's coaching tree, right? So without whatever David Marsh added to the game for sprint freestyle, these guys picked up and they took it to the next level. And here's what you see. Anthony Irvin's win, Mike Bottom, Calbert, right? Dewey Jagania, silver medal, Cal, Mike Bottom, Brett Hawk, swimmer David Marsh. And I guess, I think Dave Durden may have been there at this time. He might have left at this time to go to Maryland. 50 free, Cesar Cielo, champion. Brett Hawk had become the sprint coach. Colin Jones at Swim Mac. Cesar Cielo, Brett Hawk. Anthony Irvin was back making his comeback, or I guess successfully had made it. George Bevell was a David Marsh Auburn guy, so I guess he would have been under, I think, Dave Durden. I don't know when George Bevell was at Auburn. I know it was in 2000s. I'm not sure what the overlap is with Dave Durden. 2016, Anthony Irvin was in and out of training with David Marsh back then. And Dave Durden between SoCal and Charlotte. He was going back and forth. But Olympic champion, bronze medal, Dave Durden. Bruno Freitas had started training with Brett Hawk around then, and then obviously he gets his bronze medal in 2021. So, like, if you look at the underlines of, I think in obviously 2000 we have the champion, co-champion Gary Hall Jr., and then in 2024 he outright won the 50 free. You know, if you want to lay some claim on that, Gary Hall Jr. went to UT. He was a Texas Longhorn. So, you know, obviously most of his sprint prowess did not come there, but we can claim that. So what do you want from me? But even, you know, you take that and you take it away from the Rakely teachings and what we tree branch ourselves to, and you just look strictly at the stats provided. Even without the silver medal, we have two freestylers from the coaching tree, Jagania and Brett, right? So you look at this and you can see that for 20 years, and now with Jack Alexey, we're pushing almost 30 years, right? We're at 20 and a half. 30 years of one philosophy producing all, especially Team USA, all of their results for Sprint 50 freestyle. And then on the world level, results consistently. So when I'm talking, you know, popping my hot shit on Instagram and on YouTube, like, these are the shoulders I stand on, right? And obviously I've added my own flavor to it with what I think is I guess, honing in on the details that they miss, using math and then designing drills that make sure they cover that math. Why would I not be confident? If you're in our Rakeley Technique Solutions, why would you not be confident? Like, you're teaching your kids the techniques that allow them to access power, avoid drag or minimize drag and avoid negative propulsion and maximize propulsion that produces the best power-based race results in the world. Where the faster you go, the more you have to do right. For the last 25 years. That's a long time that you build a philosophy and for the next 25 years, it just kicks ass. Like, you got to think about that. Right? So let's just say in 2035, right, 2032, the philosophy is officially taken over by some other coach, right? And they're producing like these type of results where you got 4 people coming from one philosophy, right? I think the thing you got to put in perspective, right, is that for this success to be 25 years old, that means that he was using a process 25 years ahead in 2000. You see what I'm saying? And Mike Bottom was there. I think he left 92 or 94. So Dave Marsh, you added another decade right there. 35 years he was ahead. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not just the 25 years. It's the fact that he was using something in the 90s that was still the best. That's the best information available 35 years in the future. Ahead of the curve. And that's what we're trying to do with Rakeley. Like, when I'm always talking trash about how we're years ahead, like, this is why. Like, I started introducing this stuff in 2014. Right? In my own version of it. People still don't look at these guys at Brett. Maybe at Brett, he's generally regarded as a great sprint coach, but David does not, for what he created, doesn't get to deserve the recognition and the praise he gets. Dave Durden does. Mike Bottom, I don't think he does, but he got something, right? He gets, I think relative to everybody, nobody looks at this and says, oh, all you guys came from David Marsh. Like, that's insane. So, like, when... All right, I guess I'm going to pull everybody's card right now. When I'm talking sprint freestyle, like, I ain't blowing smoke. Like, this is... Like, the lessons that produce this, like, that's what I learned. And that's what I'm trying to preach and pass on to people, whether it's through our Rakeley Technique Solutions, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through Instagram. Like, it's the best information on the planet. And it has been for the past, they started in the 90s, 35 years. For the past 25 years, it's produced all international success at a high level. The peak of international success, it's produced it. Right? I want you to think about that. It's not producing the peak middle of the road success at the highest level. It's not producing the bottom of the barrel at the highest level. It's producing the best results at the highest level. Like, that's how honed in this philosophy is. All right. It's designed to produce the best results, not the middle of the road, not the bottom of the barrel, the best results. It's designed to talent max you. The best. Not talent max you and leave some, 5% out to where you're the middle, or leave 10% out to where you're the bottom of the barrel at the highest peak. To put you at the top 1% at the highest peak. Of course I'm going to talk trash and be uber confident. So, shout out to David Marsh, Brett Hawk, Dave Durden, Mike Bottom, all their athletes. Shout out to Jack Alexi. Like, this is the best information on the planet, right? And that's what we're trying to do with Rakeley, is bring this information, because most of y'all they're not going to give you their secrets. Your kid isn't going to have the chance, like, you're programming your kids are not going to facilitate a pipeline to these programs, being 50 freestylers to learn this stuff. So we're trying to get it in your hands now, so everybody can benefit it. And then now you have a higher chance of producing more athletes who can, one, they know sprinting, and now you put the muscle on them, they can do some things. All right, so I'm out, guys. Make sure you leave a comment. What do you think about Dave Marsh? Do you think he's got enough credit? Do you think he hasn't? Do you think that one of his disciples, Mike Bottom, Brett Hawk, Dave Durden, has done a better job than the other? Hit the notification bell so you're notified of when we drop videos. Make sure you hit that like, and please subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and get these messages out. It's all a Clout Olympics game. So the more people we have follow us, the easier it is to get these messages out and help more people who need the help, who are looking for these answers just like you are. So once again, I'm out. Peace.